What you got there, bud? Is that good, huh? Yeah. Yeah, 2 days late. This was supposed to be delivered Saturday. I ordered him another bag of dog food, ordered it from Chewy, and I also ordered him some other goodies. There's one, I don't remember what they're called. They're made by Milk-Bone. They're like these little oblong things that have like a little meat-looking thing inside of them, but this is an actual bone, and he's loving it. Yeah, you like that, huh? Hey, Copper. You like that, huh? Is that good? Do you like that bone? Huh? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So that ought to keep him. All right. I think Copper's already worn himself out chewing on the bone. But that's fine, because it'll be a little bit less noisy. And I don't understand why I can't get my hat straight. My head must be lopsided or something. Anyway, what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about the evidence for Noah's flood. Now, this is not an exhaustive study by any means. There's somebody's making me itch already. I can never find the camera. There it is. See, itchy. This is my own experience. Just a couple of things that I want to share with you that I think. Of course, I believe in the biblical narrative. I believe in biblical history. I believe that Noah's flood was an actual event. I think there's plenty of evidence for that, by a ton of evidence for it, if people want to have an open mind about it. Now, if your mind's already closed and you've already, beginning at the wrong premise, if you begin with the wrong premise, you're going to come up with the wrong answer. And so if you've already started with the premise that nothing in the Bible can be true, that Noah's flood is something that absolutely could not have happened, then of course you're already brainwashed, and no amount of evidence is going to change your mind. All right, so I'm not trying to change anybody's mind with this video. What I'm trying to do with this video is to undergird the faith of fellow Christians, for those who do believe the Bible, and just give you some added ammunition for when, let's say, you get in a discussion with somebody about the events in the Bible being true or whatever. Now, this is just my little tiny spear of evidence that I want to present to you today. And I think even though it is just my little tiny sphere of experience, I think it's some pretty powerful arguments. All right. So, first of all, and I'm trying to remember if it was the latter part of the year 2000 or the first part of 2001. I don't even remember for sure now. But my ex and I, we moved to Montana. And when we first, to the Billings area, when we first moved there, we originally lived in a little house in Laurel, Montana. Laurel, Laurel, Montana, which we absolutely loved it there. We tried to buy a house there. Now, I'm not going to go into all that story, but basically, we made an offer on a house, and the guy turned us down. Then later, when he realized that he wasn't going to sell it for what he wanted it for, the real estate gal called us and said, "Oh, he's ready to accept your offer now." But the only thing is, we'd already bought a house. In fact, we had just purchased it. And so, too little, too late. And it turned out where we ended up moving was much better, had a much bigger yard, and all that. But anyway, while we lived in Laurel, the people that we lived next to were really, really cool family. They had a teenage daughter, and then they had a boy. He was like 9 or 10 years old. And we used to go out and play catch all the time. He used to go out and throw the football around. But anyway, we became very good friends with them. And Tom was super guy. He was an avid hunter, an avid fisherman, and we used to go fishing all the time. And he used to take me up in the mountains. We used to go exploring and take treks up to different mountains. Because if you know anything about Montana, there's all sorts of places to explore, and that's one thing I don't miss the long winters there. Even though I am in Idaho, the winters here are not nearly as long as they were in the Billings area. But one day he come over and he said he wanted me to go with him on this one expedition that he was going on. I don't want to call it expedition, but just a trip. He said, I want to take you up to this one mountain and show you something. We had been discussing, I had been teaching some lessons on Noah's flood and stuff at church, and we got kind of in a discussion about that. And then one day he came over and he said, okay, what we were talking about, Noah's flood and blah, blah, blah. He says, I want to take you up to this one mountain. It was about 20 miles south of Billings, something like that. So we go out there and you go through this gate, and you had to get out and open up the gate and go through it. And then from then on, it wasn't much of a road, but luckily we had a four-wheel drive. We had a four-wheel drive pickup. And, it was kind of a pig path going out there, but then you went up this like really, really narrow mountain road. And it was kind of one of those where you hope that you didn't run into anybody, because you would have to back all the way down or they'd have to back all the way up, because there was only room for one vehicle. Luckily, we were the only ones up there, so we didn't have any problems. But by the time we got to the top of it, we were up quite a ways. I believe that the last sign that we passed said that we were at an elevation of about 12,000 feet above sea level. That's fairly up there. All right, so he took me to this one area where there was a lot of sandstone or limestone, whatever it was. I'm not a rock expert. I just know that there was a lot of sediment. There was walls there where you could see that there were different layers of rock or layers of sandstone, limestone. So he goes, I got to show you something. He went and he picked up this chunk of what I thought was just a rock, or a big chunk of sandstone. Instead, what it turned out to be was a fossil rock that contained. He goes, take a look at this. He shows it to me, and it was a bunch of fossilized clams. All right, and he went and picked up another rock, and he showed me there was some other. You could tell that they were marine creatures, but some of them, I didn't even know what they were. He didn't either. We don't even exist anymore, as far as we know, unless they're like deep down in the ocean somewhere. But there was definitely clams. There was definitely different. Excuse me, different crustaceans, different marine life in these fossilized rocks. Okay, keep in mind, this is approximately 1,200 miles from the Pacific Ocean. 1,200 miles from the Pacific Ocean, 12,000 feet up in the air. Clams, crustaceans, marine creatures, and this is ocean marine creatures, not lake marine creatures. This is ocean life. 12,000 feet up on top of this mountain, 1,200 miles or so, approximately, from the coast, from the ocean. So anyway, he continued to show me. We were going around, and he was picking up all these different rocks and showing them to me. Had all these different marine creatures in there. Now think about that for a minute. We're talking 1,200 miles from the coast, 12,000 feet up in the air, on top of a mountain. Marine creatures. Fossilized marine creatures. 12,000 feet above sea level, 1,200 miles from the coast. Let that sink in for a minute. Something had to transport them there. I mean, that's just the fact. Something had to transport them there and also cause them to become fossilized. Now, I also noticed too, as we drove, we went to kind of a different route home. We went around, came up this one main highway instead of a pig path. We kind of went out this other way, then came up through. It comes up through. If anybody knows where Belfry, Montana is, it comes up that way. But as we're going along, I notice I'm looking out, and there's just all these hills. There's all these hills, and all of them are shaped the same way. They go up at an angle, and they taper off and are flat on top, and then straight down. So they're all like this. They're all shaped exactly the same. They're all pointing the same direction. Now, I've drawn a picture here. This is kind of a crude picture. It doesn't, trust me, it doesn't look anything like the real thing. But I tried to draw a picture. It definitely does not do it justice by any means, but just to kind of give you an idea. As we're driving, we're headed north on the highway here. Now you see the arrows. Okay, you see the arrows going from west to east. There's all these hills, we're all slanted on the west side and straight on the east side. Like it was obvious. Anybody that has an open mind at all could tell that every one of these hills was formed by water flowing over them. Wind could never do that. The only thing that could shape those hills the way they were shaped, all of them being, they weren't all uniform in size. Most of them were, but some were smaller than others, some were bigger than others. But they all were shaped exactly the same, as if water had flowed over them from west to east. In other words, west of there, 1,200 miles, is the Pacific Ocean. It was obvious that water had flowed over these hills to form them in the shape that they are. And they're fairly good-sized hills. I tried going on Google Maps and trying to drive down the different roads and trying to figure out where it was exactly that we saw these, so maybe I could get a picture. And and I'll continue to search, but I couldn't find it today. But it was obvious that water had flowed from west to east, forming these hills. And it would have been having to flow with very much force. Very forceful water flow from west, which of course where the ocean is, to east. Now, again, I wish I had actual pictures of this, but I want you to think about a couple of things here that I've talked about. Just from this one little trip that we took this one day, we have all of these hills. As you're driving up the highway on both sides of the road, there's all these hills that were obvious. They're all facing the same direction. You can see they slope up and then level off. Water was flowing from west to east, shaping these hills. You have marine life that's 12,000 feet on top, it's almost at the top of the mountain. 1,200 miles from the Pacific Ocean. So let me ask you a question, those of you who don't believe that there was ever a universal worldwide flood. How do you explain fossilized marine life in a location like this? How did it get there? How was it transported there? Ocean life. 1,200 miles inland, 12,000 feet up in the air. How do you explain fossilized marine life? Now, keep in mind that fossilization occurs due to rapid burial, or burial, however you want to pronounce it. Rapid burial. But how did it get there? How was it transported? Now, if you want to keep an open mind about it, if you don't already have some predisposition, some preconceived idea that the Bible can't possibly be true, there is only one feasible explanation for either of these phenomena that I saw that day. There is only one explanation. And that explanation is found in the book of Genesis in the Bible. Genesis chapter 6, verses 11 through 14 says, "The earth was corrupt before God and filled with violence. God looked on the earth and saw it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. So God said to Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. Now I will destroy them with the earth. Make an ark of cypress wood for yourself, make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and out with pitch." Now, people say, how could Noah possibly get all those animals on the ark? Well, I'm not an expert. But of course, he could have taken young ones. He didn't have to take grown-ups. Also, it said that the ark contained the capacity of 722 railroad boxcars. Plus, the Bible says that he put all those animals on the ark. I don't have to explain how he did it. God says he did it. All right, then we go to Genesis chapter 7, verses 1 through 4. It says, "The Lord said to Noah, you and your entire household go into the ark, for you alone I have seen to be righteous before me among this generation. Take with you 7 each of every clean animal, the male and its female, and 2 each of every unclean animal, the male and its female, and 7 each of birds of the air, the male and female, to keep offspring alive on the face of all the earth. In 7 days I will cause it to rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. And every living thing that I have made I will destroy from the face of the earth." You say, well, that's kind of mean. Well, you need to understand God is a holy and righteous God. God wanted to start over. And by the way, God's the creator. As Paul says in Romans chapter 9, God has the right to do with his own creation as he will. All right, then we go to verse 11 of chapter 7. It says, "In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, the same day all the fountains of the great deep burst open, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened. The rain fell upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. All right, so not only did it rain for 40 days and 40 nights, a torrential downpour, I'm sure, but also, it says the fountains of the deep were broken up. So, whatever water beyond what is already stored in the oceans, there are apparently underground springs, underground reservoirs, that God had them all burst open and That flooded the earth, combined with the 40 days and 40 nights of rain, flooded the entire earth. Now we go into verse 17 of chapter 7. It says, the flood was on the earth 40 days, and the water increased and lifted up the ark so that it rose up above the earth. The water prevailed and increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. The water prevailed exceedingly on the earth, and all of the high mountains that were under the whole heaven were covered. The waters prevailed upward, and the mountains were covered 15 cubits deep. I believe that's right around 50 feet. I think cubit is like, no, cubit I think is 18 inches. So I'm not good at math. So 15 times 18, that was the water above all the mountains. It says, all flesh that moved on the earth died, birds and livestock and beasts and every creeping thing that crept on the earth, and every man. All in whose nostrils was the breath of life. All that was on the dry land died. So he blotted out every living thing which was on the face of the ground, both man and animals, and the creeping things, and the birds of the heavens. They were blotted out from the earth, and only Noah and those who were with him in the ark remained alive. All right, so you want to know how that marine life got 12,000 feet up in the air, 1,200 miles inland from the ocean? This is how. That water come rushing in. It formed those hills. It formed the shape of those hills. It flooded the entire earth, clear up above the mountains. All of that marine life that was in the ocean, whoosh, deposited it on top of that mountain there in Montana. You got a better idea? It's funny trying to watch people try to explain it they're trying to argue away the Bible and try to argue. And here's what's funny. Is I have seen people saying, well, there wasn't a universal flood like described in the Bible, but there were many regional floods all over the earth. Okay, well, if there were regional floods all over the earth, wouldn't that make it a worldwide flood? Hello? Yeah, if you have a flood in every region of the earth, guess what? That's worldwide. That's worldwide, just so you know. Yeah. But it's funny how people try to explain things away. Another thing, too, understand that the evolutionary theory of how things are fossilized is ridiculous. Fossils can only be formed by rapid burial. Okay. There have been so many discoveries of fossils where animals were in the act of doing something when all of a sudden, boom, some catastrophe occurred and they became fossilized. Look at this. There's a couple of pictures I want to show you. These are fossils of, again, marine life. Fish just about to eat another fish when, boom, something catastrophic occurred immediately before the fish even had the other fish totally in its mouth. Something happened so quickly and fossilized everything. Now, you're going to tell me that something like that's going to occur over a period of billions of years? No, not hardly. You'd have to be a complete idiot to believe that. And a lot of people are. Also, what's interesting is that there's plenty of evidence to show that at one time that the world was just like it's described in the book of Genesis. That the entire earth was the tropical paradise. The climate was the same all over the earth. The vegetation was the same all over the earth. They have found mammoths, frozen mammoths, like up in the Arctic. They have found frozen mammoths with tropical vegetation undigested in their stomach, which shows, number one, whatever happened to them happened like that, and that they were frozen immediately. Now, what I believe could have occurred, and I really haven't gone into a whole big study of this, but my theory, and I might be completely wrong, this is just my own thinking, okay? So I don't have any evidence to this effect. But what I'm thinking is, if for the Earth to have an equatorial climate, a tropical climate worldwide, maybe the Earth used to be straight up and down. And then the tilting of the Earth on its axis is what caused everything to happen, what caused the ice to form, what we call the Ice Age. It might have caused all that to happen. I don't know that just the fountains of the deep breaking up, as the Bible describes, all those subterranean water resources. I don't know if that would explain the ice, but a sudden tilt of the Earth. Now, like I say, I may be totally way off base on that, but that's just the thought that I have had. That to me it makes sense. That's what caused everything. That's what caused the Ice Age. This is what caused things to all of a sudden be frozen immediately, and they had to have been frozen immediately. They have also found in the Arctic regions, they have also found petrified forests with tropical trees, fossilized tropical vegetation, which shows at one time the Arctic was tropical. It hasn't always been a frozen wasteland. At one time was tropical. There's tons of evidence to show that. And even the most avid evolutionist has to say, yeah, at one time, all the Earth was tropical. They found fossils of animals, like I say, eating other animals. They found instances where an animal was in the process of birthing a baby, and boom, they were frozen, fossilized, just like that. It's not something that could have occurred over millions of years. It had to be something that was instantaneous. And again, the only thing that explains what happened is right here in the book of Genesis. So, I just wanted to share that with you today. There's a lot of other things I could share, but I just wanted to share you my little ditty of what I saw. There have been some other things I've seen too, but I got to thinking about this one day when he showed me those fossils and I saw those hills, and it just kind of, not that I didn't already believe it. I, of course, already believed it, but that just all the more reinforced what I already believed. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. Hopefully you'll get something out of it, and it'll help you to strengthen your faith. All right? I think that bone wore copper out. Didn't it? Did it wear you out, bub? Yeah, see. You still got the bone over there. You tired? Huh? Are you tired, Copper? Did that wear you out? Huh? What you give me that look for? I gave you some goodies. Yeah, I gave you goodies. Yeah. Oh, you better get that bone. I'm going to give it to the kitty. I'm going to give that to the kitty. Yeah, I'll give it to the kitty. Yeah, he said, you ain't going to give my bone to the kitty. Yeah, look at him. Give me that look like, yeah, just try, bub. Hey. Yeah, I'll give it to the kitty. I give it to kitty. Yeah. All right, folks.